What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Sorry I'm so late this evening, but I got held up on some stuff, so just wanted to knock out this really quickly to touch on this topic. Reason why I decided to talk about this because I've been seeing some things on Facebook, and I actually had a consultation with a client this morning, and he had some interesting questions, which are questions I've had in the past in reference to this same exact topic. And there seems to be a misunderstanding when it comes to these things. So to knock out this, it's trying to do this anyway. It seems to be like some confusion in reference to what exactly a trade line does, what a trade line is, how do you take advantage of it, and is it something that is like the end all be all when it comes to credit? Do you not have to do anything else? Can you just pay somebody, just sit back and don't do anything, and your credit magically shoot up to 850? And I just wanted to dispel those misconceptions about what it is, and the fact that at the end of the day, it's something that's like, you can equate it to steroids. You can equate it to when I say steroids, I mean it's like a cheat code, but it doesn't overcome bad credit. If you have bad credit, it's not really going to be too beneficial for you. Like, a lot of people will, like, and most of my credit repair clients, they will basically stop paying on everything, and they're like, well, I'm gonna get my credit fixed, even though they might not know the entire process. I'm gonna get my credit fixed. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna let this person take care of it. I heard somebody talking about trade lines, so I'm going to add some trade lines, and then I'm gonna go buy a car or a house. And it doesn't work like that. And once again, like I said, I want you to have a good understanding of what it is. And this isn't a sales pitch. It's just to give out this information so that people understand exactly what they're getting themselves into, what they can do themselves to help out, and what you can do to help out your children and your family members, even though it's not really beneficial to me to give a lot of this information, but it is just to help you, just so you can get started on your journey if you don't know this concept. And I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. This concept has been around for almost 40 years, right? It's just to certain demographics, and I'm gonna leave it like that. This is like a new concept, and it's not really understood. So that's why a lot of the confusion comes in. And many kids, children, many people add their loved ones and family members to trade lines, and when they graduate, go to college, they already have like a in the late 700s or whatever like that, just based upon them piggybacking off of this trade line. So, getting right to the point, what is a trade line at the end of the day? All a trade line is, and I'm going to simplify it so that if there's any confusion about it, all a trade line is an account that's on your credit report that has a number, account number tied to it, that reports monthly. That can be a student loan. A student loan can be a trade line. That can be a personal loan. That can be a car note. It can be a mortgage. It can be a credit card. It's revolving or installment are the two types. Now, they do have these self-reporting accounts out there for you guys who are, on with Experian Boost and other lines of credit that you may have seen me post in the past, that you can sign up for, that will report like your utilities, primarily, like if you pay internet, phone bill, stuff like that, they'll report that. But when you go to make major purchases, those don't really count. But this is something to kind of give you that temporary boost, which is called self-reported accounts when it comes to that. So, and like I said, this can be installment or it can be revolving. And the difference between installment and revolving, or revolving is basically like a credit card, or if you go to any department store and they offer you a line of credit that when you pay it down monthly, you can use it again, or you can purchase. It doesn't have a term to it. It's revolving. So it's continuous. It's infinite when it comes to credit. An installment account has a term to it, whether that be, and you set the terms whenever you make the purchase, whether that be a car, whether that be furniture or anything, or just a personal loan. It will have like whatever X amount of months to it for you to do that. So when we're talking about trade lines, as far as what people when they're looking to fix their credit or boost their credit or things like that, that's more in line of the authorized user. When someone adds you as an authorized user to one of their lines of credit. And how does that help you, right? So it helps you. I'm going up here in the corner here, the right corner, as you can see here. That helps you, depending on the line of credit that you have, by increasing your length of history. Hopefully, if you have an older trade line, by increasing the length of history, which also contributes to the payment history as well, a lot of times, so that you get the 10% and the 35% based off the older the trade line. Um, that also begins with the amount owed, which is 30%. And whenever someone's adding you to a trade line, you want to make sure someone's adding you to a line that has a minimum of less than 30%. Preferably, you want to have 6% or less. And that's a rule of thumb. When you say 30%, 30% is just so that it doesn't negatively affect you. So just keep that in mind. And it also helps with the type of credit. If you don't have any revolving credit, it's going to help out with the type of credit. So you're hitting all these things. You're hitting the length of history, you're hitting the amount owed, and you're hitting the payment history in terms of that and the types of credit. So just keep that in mind. The question also gets asked, which, many new clients, they'll come to me, they were like, well, how about if I add this trade line right here, if I get this one, how many points will my score go up? Just gonna be honest with you, it's not a realistic question in terms of how many points will your score go up. No one can tell you that. No one can tell you how many points your score will go up. Just to be real with you, even the credit bureaus, because credit bureaus don't actually generate credit scores, if you will. So they can't even tell you that. So you can't just walk up and say, well, if I add this $5,000 line of credit, is my credit score going to go up 66 points? And not only that, you got 3 different credit scores. So that's the biggest thing we need to know as well. You have 3 different credit scores and you have different things on your credit report. So no one can answer that, but you can kind of give an idea based upon, by looking at if someone has no credit at all, as opposed to someone who has like several collections, charge-offs, their credit is just destroyed for the most part. A trade line is really not going to be too beneficial, and I'll tell people that straight up. But a lot of people don't know, and people will tell them, hey, if you get this trade line, you can buy a brand new car with this trade line, and you don't have to do anything else, and it doesn't work like that. So how much will my score go up? I already covered that. I already said how many. I didn't say how many. You want a rule of thumb is you want to have a minimum of 5. This isn't necessarily authorized user trade lines, but this is just accounts, period. You want to have a minimum of 5 open accounts. Look at your credit report as your resume, right? You don't want to have anything on your resume. You don't want to, when I'm saying that, you don't want to apply for credit and not have anything on your resume, because they're going to look at it and be like, well, you don't have any history, and it's the same thing when you're applying for a job. So you want to have some credit on there or showing that someone has extended you credit in terms of that. So you want to have 5. Anything less, then that's a minimum of 5. Anything less than 5 is considered high risk, right? So you want to have, the more the better. Like sometimes I think if you look at some credit monitoring services, they'll say like, just to be in that sweet spot, you want to have around 20 open accounts. I'm not saying it's necessary, but just to have where you're able to manage these things. So just food for thought. Can they help if I have bad credit? Yes and no. So the amount of increase that you'll see if you have, when I say bad credit, that means like I'll just give you an example. I had a consultation this morning. He was trying to figure out, he said he was working on his credit for years. He was trying to figure out what does he need to do. He can't seem to make any moves. He paid somebody for a trade line. He even got like a starter card or whatever with Capital One, the secured card, to kind of build his credit up. And he was like, I don't know, it's just not, I purchased this trade line, it's not going up. So I went and checked his credit report. He hasn't made an on-time payment on his car note for like 3 or 4 years. And it's been 120 days for the past 3 or 4 years. And then he has another loan he hasn't been making payments on time. So it's things like that. You have to look at it like, am I paying? Because the worst thing you can do is miss a payment. Like a trade line cannot overcome bad credit, right? So in this gentleman's in his situation, you looking at about 48 late payments, and you're adding. It doesn't matter if you add a 20-year-old trade line; it's not going to do but so much because that late payment. Let's just say if you had an 800 credit score, right? And you made a late payment, your credit score could drop like 150, 160 points, maybe 200, depending on your profile. It's just that serious with late payments, and that's why when you try to get a mortgage, why they take it so serious, in terms of things like this. And it could be something so simple as $2. What's considered a late payment is 30 days late. That's when they report to the credit bureau, just so you guys understand. So if you have bad credit and you're trying to take the shortcut of adding a trade line and you're not actively paying your bills or you're not actively paying on anything, it's not going to really help you too much. And that's I had to tell him that was his situation. It didn't really help him that much because of he wasn't paying on anything. But he figured by adding a trade line it could overcome that. It's just like, and I'm going to use an analogy, you can't out train a bad diet. You can go and walk for 20 minutes, 30 minutes and go eat a banana and that's it. Not saying that you wouldn't get any certain benefits, but in terms of weight loss, when it comes to that, you just ate those 20, 30 minutes with that banana. And I'm just giving an example. You can't out train a bad diet, just like with this credit thing. You can't just add a few things and feel like it's going to fix the situation. In that case, ideal person when you're trying to get a trade line is a person who has very minimal derogatory accounts or collections, maybe a few. A person who has no credit, that's another one. A person who has no credit at all, they're ideal for a trade line. A person who doesn't really have much credit history and they're trying to get that length of history, as I'm showing right here, this length of history, even though that's 10%, they're trying to increase that by getting an older trade line. That type of person, or a person who's just trying to get some payment history going or more accounts. It'll be beneficial to that type of person, but it's not beneficial to someone who already has 10 accounts and they have a bunch of late payments, they're not paying on any of them. They already have established primary trade lines. They already have those established, and it's not really going to help you any. You need to fix those. The quickest way to fix your credit off top is to pay your bill. And I know this sounds stupid or common sense, but the quickest way to repair your credit is to pay your bills on time. When I say pay your bills on time, I mean in terms of if you have a car note, and this gentleman, his car note was like $3,000, and I'm not putting him on blast because you don't know who he is, but his car note was like 3 grand behind, and he was like, I'm paying it on time. You're not paying it on time if you're $3,000 behind. Just because you're making monthly payments, they're not going to update that and say, hey, he's paying it on time, because you still have a balance. Same thing with any other debt you have, whether that be child support or anything. You could be behind on child support and you start making payments on time, you still have arrears. So the quickest way to fix your credit is just if you're behind on anything 30 days or more, just start paying on it. Just food for thought. So hope that answers that question. I know I talked a little long on that. If I get one, can I apply and get approved for the same card with the same limit? So this is a common question I get as well. So if they're saying, someone will say, if I get a Chase card with a $35,000 credit limit, can I apply with Chase and get a $35,000 credit limit? No, it's not going to happen. And if somebody's telling you that, they're lying to you. Can I get a Navy Federal $25,000 Navy Federal trade line and then turn around and apply for one? No, it doesn't work like that, because that it doesn't reflect. It's not a reflection of your credit worthiness at the end of the day, especially if it was the situation like I just previously stated. So it does not work like that. you're getting the benefit of getting that payment history onto your credit report, which you hitting these things that I covered before, but it doesn't automatically qualify you for that same type of line of credit. And it doesn't qualify you for that same credit limit with another lender. So just keep that in mind. Can I add a family member? Yes, you can. I seen someone post this today. I got my sons on my cards, and I would recommend you guys, preferably if you don't have any late payments. I mean, if they're older, if the late payments are like years older, that's fine. But you preferably want to add them to cards that don't have any late payments. And because, whether this be children or family members, especially if you have children that's graduating, you adding them is going to, set them up where they have established credit history. And it's going to allow them to be able to get their own primaries, which is their accounts as well, and do certain things. And like I said, you have certain demographics across the country who've been doing this for years, and that's just how it goes. So it's not like I guess you could consider it, if some people want to consider it a secret at some point. Anyway, let's move on. Primary versus authorized user. What a primary is just basically any account that you actually apply for, like I stated earlier. Like if you applied for if you personally, it's not piggybacking. A primary is one that you applied for and got approved for, and it hits your credit report. Whether you apply for a loan with Navy Federal today and you get approved, that's a primary because it's you. If you get a Capital One card today and you're approved, that's a primary. But a trade line, in terms of what we're talking about, an authorized user trade line is just someone adding you to their accounts, which is it still helps. It still helps. Like I said, I've gotten people qualified for mortgages. They bought homes just by being on authorized users. They piggybacked off of my credit to get them where they needed to be at to qualify. And you can do the same thing with your family members if, and that's just a cheaper way to, or basically it doesn't cost you any money, it doesn't cost you any money to add your family member to one of your accounts. And you just go to your account. And if you want to, I didn't mention earlier, as far as adding your children and things like that, just check with your credit card whoever issued your credit card, and ask them what's the minimum age, because some of them have different ages to add. Just ask them, and then just go ahead and add them onto the credit card. And once that report date comes about, then that's when it'll hit their credit report, and they'll have some established credit history. Just food for thought as well. I think I might have touched on this earlier. The more I get, the higher my credit score, the higher my score. So I get asked this question also. So people are like, I guess it's the thing of if I get more, will my credit score go up? If I get multiple trade lines, will it go up? It's only going to go up to a certain extent, once again, because if it's the case of, we'll go back to where I was at earlier. This is what makes up your credit score as a whole. And you can get more, but there is a certain cutoff, if you will, of things you got to hit. Especially, many people run into this. I mean, this is inquiries. New accounts is just inquiries right here, which is 15%. Good thing about piggybacking is that you don't have to worry about getting an inquiry when you piggybacking. With some cards they do. I think there's certain processes when you want to add people to certain cards, you have to do certain things. But for the most part, when you add someone, there is no inquiry. So you're basically taking care of this 35%, this 30%, the types of credit. If you're just adding the trade line of a revolving account, it's only, you're only covering one of these. There's still so many other ones on here, as you can see: mortgages, student loans, credit cards. You have to have a mix, this is also considered credit mix, which is a 10%. So just food for thought. Once again, I know I've said that probably 1,000 times already, but that's basically how trade lines work. They do work, but they don't work for everyone's situation. And you have some people, they're quick to sell them. They'll tell you, hey, what do you want? Some people will be like, I want to buy a trade line, but they don't know what they're looking for. Just know, out of all these things, length of history trumps everything in terms of Because many people will be like, well, I want a $30,000 credit limit, thinking that they're going to get more points by having a $30,000 credit limit or a higher credit limit. When in all actuality, if you have a $200 credit card that's much older than that $25,000 or $30,000 limit, that $200 credit card is going to do more impact as far as boosting your score than that. Because once again, the length of history trumps that, because the length of history equates to payment history as well, for the most part. Not for the most part, overall. When you come, because that length of history comes with payment history, especially if that person's using the card. So these two go hand in hand, length of history and payment history. Those go hand in hand. And that's like the biggest impact. So that's 45%. Especially if you have, I've had guys who've never had, and young ladies as well, that have never had credit, and I've added them to like a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old line of credit, and they just shot their score up. I've even added like even smaller cards for someone who doesn't have any credit, and they all of a sudden just get a new line of credit. That'll just shoot their score up. So just keep that in mind. It's not always you have to spend all this crazy money just to get like a trade line, just to boost your score up, especially when you haven't cleaned everything else up. You have other things to clean up, whether that be derogatories on your account from collections, charge-offs. You currently, are behind on payments and things like that. So with that being said, I think I pretty much covered it all. Like I said, I just wanted to talk about this. I hope that this has answered a lot of questions that you may have had. That's the wrong one. That you may have had in terms of this topic. So if you're interested in getting any trade lines or seeing where you fit in terms of your trade lines, or you just don't know where you're at credit wise, please feel free to contact me. The link is in the description, as well as scrolling at the bottom here on the video on my Calendly. Make sure you guys book an appointment on there at a time that's great for you, and I'll be happy to help you guys out, point you in the right direction as far as getting you started the right way on your credit journey. And with that being said, I'm out of here. So I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.